Chase, it is the 22nd of October. This is episode 395. And we're recording on a Tuesday, which is weird for you and I because we typically record on a Wednesday.
A little bit weird.
Mm-hmm. But tonight is traditionally a What You've Been Playing, I think is what we had slated. Maybe a deep dive, I can't remember. But regardless, we're going to be going into...
We're not doing any of that shit.
We're not, because it kind of hit me today in the midst of moving and all the other shit that we've got going on. I feel like we haven't really talked through what's left to get done or check back in on as we get near Game of the Year. And I was retooling our schedule, and I was like, fuck, we don't have that many episodes left before Game of the Year time, which you hate to hear. But what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are dread, mostly just dread.
Dredge? That's a great game. You should play that. You should absolutely play that one.
No way. You had me go through this exercise, and I looked, and now to be fair, it's mostly games that have yet to come out, but there are still a handful of games that are out that I have not put any time into that I would like to before Game of the Year, and there's no way I'm going to get to all of these, but I think it's like 14 or 15 games. I won't necessarily run down all of them for this episode, but
well, I mean, we're not. Yeah, and look, like I feel there's a few things I've been thinking about today in preparation for this episode. One, this is like the most This has been a weird year for us for a lot of reasons. Our show's gone through a pretty big transition. Sure. I've gone through a major transition personally with the move and just like navigating the stress that comes with it. Work, I think for both of us has been pretty chaotic, which is, a gift and a curse. And then the other piece of it is like, I've just felt very much like scattered in a lot where I've been traditionally a bit more organized and laser focused on moving through, especially like games in this show. I've been a little bit more, scattershot on things, and I'm just trying my best to get a handle on what I want to really commit to by the end of the year, because I have definitely put a lot of time in with games. I haven't beaten as many games as I normally do in a calendar year, but I feel like some of these games I've gotten a good taste for. And the other big thing that hit me today, it's weird that I'm on the eve of November, and I was thinking to myself, like, well, I pretty much got what I'm going to play this year. And it's weird to think that, like, I mean, I know there's a lot coming out this November, but it feels to me that there's been a shift. In November used to be like the it month. I felt like that's when all the big shit, like everybody was trying to get out of November's way. Smaller games especially were not trying to launch there. And it just feels like maybe November is not as sacred as it once was. October, like late October, early November for game releases. Or maybe I'm just being dummy. I don't know.
I don't know. Like maybe it's just the case, because I still think there's a lot coming out in November. We were running down a little bit before the show, and I was like, damn, there's actually quite a bit of good stuff coming out in November. But I think there's just been a natural shift to video games all the fucking time. and it's always a good time to release a new video game. That's true. Seems so. I think we've gotten big releases spread out a little bit more around the year, but I don't think that means that November is slow by any means, because there's some heaters there, which we'll do a preview about that real soon, I imagine.
Next week's that episode. But yeah, I think that we've got some stuff to definitely break down tonight. We're not really going to break down a lot of new games that we've been playing or checking in on stuff. I will say, if you're listening to this and you would like to see or hear about a new game, just head over to YouTube or Twitch, and you can check out Chase and I checking out the table, or the what was that one called?
TCG card shop.
Yeah.
Whatever
simulator. Yeah. TCG card shop simulator. It's dumb fun. We've got a VOD of that up, and I'm sure you'll see that pop back up, but that's kind of our contribution to the new game.
It was very dumb and very fun.
Yeah. I'm having, that has been like a fun, brainless thing to get into. And I think the little bit of role playing I did in that last night was a good time. And,
a little bit.
I had a lot of fun with it, and we'll definitely fire that thing back up in the future for sure. It seems like a very easy game just to have in the background while we're doing stuff. But tonight is just going to be kind of talking through some games that we've want to spend more time with or need to check out. And Chase and I also earlier in the year, whenever we went through some of the transition to just Chase and I on the casual hour, we had talked about like, well, we should be able to like kind of veto the other and say like, no, you need to play this game this year. Like if we're going
Right.
to talk about stuff. So we might kind of edge some of that territory tonight and see what goes on with that. But I've got a list here. It's a pretty big one too, Chase, of things that I'm either juggling or maybe I feel like I've gotten enough out of to make a case for in game of
Yeah.
the year conversations, but I'd like for you to be a bit more familiar with it. And do you want to just
Sure.
like briefly, I think in the years past, like there's been some times where either you or myself or Johnny, we would just go and like watch some gameplay. If there was a game that like you weren't going to play, but maybe you knew Johnny and I would have a heavy discussion on, you might want to have some more contextual awareness to, like,
Yeah.
is that still something that you're looking to do potentially, or where are you at with that?
Um, looking at the games on my list, I don't think there would be any of them that I would watch. The one I think would be the easiest to watch is the one I want to play the most, and that is Neva, which just
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
And
That,
that's a short game from the makers of Greece, one of our you know little favorites, and it's one I'm dying to play. I bought it. I'm ready. I just I've been saying this for weeks now, but I want to finish Zelda. I want to finish Astrobot, and then I can kind of move on. And Neva is one of the games at the top of that list
yeah.
to be
It's
playing
not
here
like you're
real soon.
never going to get to it, you know?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right, Bobby.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just chop this up into like, I don't know, you want to go like every 3 games we flip flop back and forth?
Yeah, why not?
Let's just try that and see where this show goes, you know, as we're hanging out here. One that you've beaten, Chase, that I think I'm close to, and I feel like I will be fucking lost going back to, is
Hmm.
Animal Well.
Oh, not the one I thought you were going to say, but okay. I guess there's 2
Um,
games on this list that are like that.
yeah. So I think the one I won't be as lost going back to, but I think Animal Well,
Hmm.
I will absolutely be fucked up for a bit going back to that one. But I do think there's,
Yeah, I mean, Metroidvania kind of games in general are ones where you really need to know the map and learn it. And at this point, you have learned, and now at this like unlearned by the amount of time that you have not played it.
yeah,
That probably will be difficult to jump back into and be comfortable again. Plus, all like the mechanical complexity and remembering what things do and where you can use them. Um, but also, I think that's a generally pretty easy game to just use a guide for if you need to on a few spots. There is
right.
one spot near the end which even with a guide it's a lot of just execution, and that'll be tough with the ring rust you've got right now.
My question
Um
to you becomes this. I've
mhm.
played a decent amount of that game. How important is credits on that game?
It's probably not all that important, and even where I got, which is seeing the credits, is
Hmm.
certainly not the end of the game. Like
Yeah.
those crazy people out there are, cracking that game in half and finding all the little
Is that still
ARG.
going
I
on?
don't even think it's really an ARG, but it definitely has like a Fez kind of quality where there is much deeper shit going on that people are exploring and crowd sourcing and figuring stuff out. But like just finishing that game, I mean, it's a good ending. It feels
Yeah.
good to play. It's nice, but I think the most interesting parts of that game you have probably seen at this
Okay.
point. And
Uh,
outside of that one execution check near the end, I would say I mean, that's a pretty exciting moment for me. It might show up in like a moment of the year kind of thing,
right.
but it was also something that I was cursing to myself for many tens of minutes, if not maybe even close to an hour for that one thing.
Yeah.
And I could just see somebody who's like, well, I forgot everything about this map, coming into it and going, ugh.
I know. The one thing I'm hoping for is like I did burn up a lot of my PTO on the move, and I was pretty
Yeah.
busy during that time. But
You
that's
know
a
what?
game.
That's actually, hang on. That is something that you could watch. I think you could just watch
Okay.
some let's play of somebody doing that final, like wherever you are, whatever you finished, and just finding
And going
somebody
from
that
there.
gets you to the credits,
Yeah.
and that would be fine. I think you would understand, oh, that would have been really difficult to do, or
Yeah.
oh, I see what they did there, that's kind of clever, without you having to go through that.
Fair. The other one that you thought I was going to bring up, and I'll bring up now, is Children of the Sun, and
Fuck yeah.
I'm close on that. I'm gonna finish that one. I'm gonna play that one. I really like that game a whole lot, and I'm making a note here on will finish or will watch.
Yeah,
And
that game is so sick. I do think you should play that one,
yeah,
and finish
absolutely.
it by playing it, and not just
Yeah.
watch it. I mean, you could, and I think you'd get a very similar. Oh, that's clever the way they did that, or oh, I see how that arena would have been difficult to do on my own. But I think there is something about accomplishing that yourself
Yep.
in Children of the Sun that, man, I really think you should play that and just finish it. That's good.
And the last one I'll mention before passing over to you is in the spirit of Metrovania, the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. And
Oh, you didn't finish that?
I didn't finish it. And the shitty thing about this is I actually read today that the team that built this is disbanded due to Ubisoft claiming poor sales. So part of me feels like, I really liked what I saw that, and I think they did a fantastic job with making Prince of Persia unique and interesting with this. I don't know if I'll go back and like wrap this thing up by the end of the year.
And it got DLC too, didn't it? It got like an extra chapter.
I think it got DLC, and from what I've picked up on, that game gets really fucked as far as like a difficulty goes, apparently, like the further into it you get. And I'm afraid that ring rust, to your point, and then just the draw to, I have a metaphor fucking size problem in front of me right now where like that's the only thing I really want to play. And there's not, I mean, I don't know. I'm having a really hard time. I'm like, I'm gonna sit down and play this, and it's like metaphor. How did I end up opening this up? So anyway, I don't know. I might watch some of the cinematics for this, but I know early in the year this had a pretty strong impression on me and the industry as well. But those are the three. So I'll probably just, if anything, watch something on Prince of Persia.
I did get some story spoilers on the end of Prince of Persia, and I would say you're fine.
Okay.
If you're going into it just for the story part, I think you're probably okay. Now,
Now,
mechanically, it seemed really cool.
Yeah.
I did see you mentioned like getting challenging. I saw something. I don't know if it was like a challenge section or if it was just like a regular part of the game, but I saw some clip where I was like, Jesus Christ, that doesn't seem like fun. That seems like hell.
I know why I stopped playing it when I did, because I got fucking stuck on a tough boss. I was like, I need to get good, and I just never got good. So, but anyway, what do you got?
Well, you mentioned a metaphor-sized gorilla in the room, and I also have that gorilla. Metaphor Refantasio. It's highly likely that is like a top 5, maybe even top 3 game of the year for me, and yet I haven't been able to touch it at all.
There's a friend of the show, Zoe, has came out and said this might be the best JRPG she's ever played.
Man, I just keep hearing that from different people every time, that it is really good, that, oh, Chase, you would love it. I'm like, I know.
This is so fucking Chase coded.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got all the shit that you would like. I think the only thing that's probably not as interesting to you as going through Japan would be is the fantasy setting here for this.
It could be, but I still like some knights and swords and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I think about like the job system stuff that you're talking about here, and one of the games that comes to mind is like Bravely Default, which I also
Oh yeah.
really love, and that is absolutely fantasy swords and magic kind of stuff. And I could, I know I'll love this game. I'm
Yeah.
sold on it. I'm so sold. I've purchased the game. Like
Yeah.
I'm ready. It's loaded up. It's good to go. I just
Yeah.
need to do it. And again, it's Zelda. It's Astrobot, and then after that, I can play
And
nothing but Metaphor and Neva
I don't think that
for a
you. I
while.
don't think you or I will beat this game before the end of the year.
Probably not. If it's anything like Persona 5, I put about 100 hours into that.
Yeah.
And I can imagine this is probably a similar length, 70 to 100. And
Well, especially with what November is bringing. I know that there's a lot more in November I think you're excited for than I am at this point.
that's
But
true. Yeah.
anyway, Metaphor, I appreciate it being on your list. I know you'll get to it. We will talk a lot about that game this year, I think.
Yeah. Looking at, we talked about Neva. Here's one that you played a little bit of for a Next Fest, and I
Mhm.
ended up purchasing this game. I follow one of the devs on Twitter. I've really been enjoying the updates and seeing that it seems like it's actually performed pretty well. And I don't think we had the best time playing it on the Next Fest, but I think if I sat down and actually really played the game myself, I probably would end up really liking it. Do you have any guesses based on what I just said?
The Ranger.
No. Although I think that probably is up there too. Arco is the game.
Yeah.
That's the pixel based
That
one that
came out
is
and got good buzz. I saw some reviews
yeah.
and I got really tempted. It was cool.
Like like a timing based tactical kind of
Yeah.
game, RPG stuff, some
Sword and
like
sorcery style art.
yeah, a little bit like some choose your own adventure kind of stuff
Yep.
in there as well. I think I'd really dig it. I ended up purchasing on my Switch. I just haven't touched it at all, but it does seem like something that I could see myself getting really into if I learn the mechanics and give it a shot. And
the story stuff seemed cool. That was part of the Spanish heritage, right? Is that
I think I mean it's got some Spanish stuff going on in there, like setting wise.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Arco was neat.
Yeah. And then let's see. I'm trying not to touch the ones that I know that you could. Well, I guess you did one of mine for Children of the Sun, so I'll mention one of yours. But here's the easiest softball in the world. It's UFO 50, a game that I've talked about for many a year.
Yeah.
And it's finally out, and I would love to play it, but as we've talked about before, it's only on the PC right now. And while I could totally load this up on a Steam Deck, and I hear it has controller support for the Steam Deck, I just want to play it on my Switch. That's where I play video games, and I know it'll get there. So can I wait for UFO 50 to get there? I don't know.
I'll just say I think it's weird for a game that you have talked about this much.
I know.
When you have the ability to play it in multiple locations, just play it. There's a zeitgeist.
I certainly could. Honestly, it seems like it's doing okay. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it though, which has been great for me because I don't want to know much about it. I just want to jump in. But I also imagine that being a game that is 50 games, it's not. I don't know how that fits into something for Game of the Year for us. Because I feel like, do you talk about an individual game as part of the 50? Do you talk about the 50 as a complete thing? Do you need to touch all 50 games to really understand what that game is, or to have like an understanding?
It could have been best UFO 50 game, but I mean, to answer your question, this came out, just over a month ago. It's overwhelmingly positive on Steam, so it's cool. Like I played a little bit of it. It's very novel. The way I would say it is like, I fired up a game. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to see the next one. Oh, this is neat. I want to see the next one. Okay.
Right. Totally.
And it became like this thing where it's like, this is really neat. Like I checked out all this, and I don't know if it's just like my age coming out at this point, but I feel like I've kind of lived through that era, and while I look at that like with nostalgia and like appreciation, I don't know how much that captivates me, like to go back and spend a lot, because I was pretty. I mean, I was young when Nintendo came
Yeah.
out, but we'll
And
see.
I've seen some people try to combat that in a couple different ways. I've seen some people talk about how I'm gonna do one stream per game,
Oh yeah,
and so hey, this stream only focusing on this game, and it stops them from the okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? That you were talking about. But also, I know that the Eggplant podcast, which was a kind of spelunky and then indie game podcast, came out of retirement to say, okay, hey, we're going to do a year of UFO 50 content. And so
okay,
we're going to do each week, we're going to come back and talk about one game. And maybe it's with that developer who made that one or whatever. And I haven't listened to that podcast, but I could totally see somebody doing kind of a game club play along where they've
sure.
purchased UFO 50 and now it's okay, each week I'll play the one game and I'll listen to people talk about it, and then I'll play another game and I'll listen to people talk about it. And it I can see that like focusing
I mean, it could be
yourself.
something you do next year too, where it's like,
Right. I mean, with that podcast going on right now, I feel like I could jump into it whenever if I wanted to experience it like that. So there is a part of me that's like, okay, you already have a ton of games to play. It's not like you're dying to play another new video game,
yeah,
even if this one has been a long time coming for you. Um, so knowing that you want to wait for it on the Switch, knowing that there's maybe a good way of playing it with like this companion piece kind of thing, knowing that maybe it's a bit awkward for a game of the year kind of thing category
yeah,
wise,
yeah.
maybe I just hold off, and I've waited this long, I can hold off a little longer, right? And that is how I'm justifying it to my brain.
That's how you end up with a fucking wheel, Chase. This is how a
Yeah,
wheel is born.
that is certainly true.
This is for the
Anyway,
wheel
that's my
ones.
three. That's three
Okay.
for me. So it's back to you.
I'm gonna pick from a game that I think you should play,
Okay.
that I would like to go spend more time with, because I really had a pretty profound time with it, and that's Kinesigama, Path of the Goddess. And
Okay.
I think this one's really cool. I don't think you'll have an easy way to play it. I'm playing this on Game Pass. It is on quite a bit though.
I mean, it's on PlayStation. I
Yeah.
could easily play it there.
Um,
I
I
played the
really,
demo there.
yeah, I really think you'll like it. I forgot you played the demo. Maybe you got your
Mhm.
fill there, and we did stream it. Um, this game really surprised the hell out of me, and I think this is one of those like Capcom jewels. But I want to go back into it. I don't think it's a very long game, and I think that there's a few other classes of civilians that you can unlock to help in these endeavors that you find yourself on, that I can pick up and check out. But I really enjoyed the strategy and planning and tinkering, and I think it is something I will fire back up before Game of the Year to get a little refresher on. But that would be one
Yeah,
I'd throw out there.
I did enjoy the demo. I could totally see myself jumping back in.
Another one that I don't know, like you've seen it. I think we quick looked it. I don't think we streamed it. And the quick look got corrupted, so we never posted it. But Botany Manor, this one was really cool. I thought, like, the puzzle reminded me a little bit of The Witness, and I know you really liked that game.
It's true.
This one had a really cool story narrative to it, and I liked the puzzles with it. But I don't know, like, I think you know what that game is.
Probably, but also it does seem good.
Yeah, it is. It's very well done.
Like it seems a
Um,
lot like I mean, you mentioned The Witness, but what's the one from last year that we really liked? The
Viewfinder.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be maybe something to keep on your list there. But the one that we have not talked about this together outside of a monthly preview episode. I have put maybe like 40 minutes into this game, so not a ton in the grand scheme of things. But I think Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is something
On my
that
list.
should be on your list to
It
check
is on the
out.
list, yeah.
That is a wild game that I think you would eat the fucking shit out of, given the intelligence required for it, but not only that, just the style that comes with this game. This is the same people that made Sayonara Wild Hearts, so it's just packed to the brim for it. It's one I would
and Year Walk and Device
Mhm.
6, Simogo games. All of their games are really cool.
Yeah, dude. This is again like no fucking miss there at all, but I do think this one should be something that you find a way to at least see some stuff on, and maybe watching somebody kind of solve and stumble through it. I don't know if that would be fun because it is such a
Yeah, like when you're watching somebody play a puzzle game,
yeah,
there are only two ways to watch somebody play a puzzle game. One is to be frustrated that they're not doing it as well as you could do it, or
yeah,
the other way is being frustrated that they're doing it too well and you're
yeah,
not getting a chance to think about it. So it really does feel like one that I should just play
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
And yeah, it's on my list. It's
I think it's on the Switch too.
I think it is.
Yeah, I think it's on the Switch. So Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, that's a very cool game, by the way. Just a cool name also.
Yeah, it's just fun to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one that I will be putting some more time into, I think, myself. And I'll throw it back your way, man.
Sure. One that I've got on my list that I think it's tough because we talked before the podcast. I think I kind of told you didn't need to play this game,
Yep.
and you listened, and that's okay. But also, it's definitely going to be one of my favorite games of the year, and so I wouldn't mind if you had a little bit more experience with Unicorn Overlord.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think
just
after playing
just a
some of the
gorgeous game.
totally. I think playing some of these games where like I'm not as in control of the characters and what I think that there's some strategy stuff here I could appreciate. And I look, that game, I asked you multiple times, like, hey, should I get this? It looks really fucking cool. People are kind of losing their shit on it. And you're like, eh. But I can probably, actually, while you're talking more about it, I'm going to see, I can probably find a good deal on that right now.
Yeah, you probably could. It's been out for a while.
Yeah.
Although it is a
It was only on PlayStation, right? Or was it on PC too?
it's on Switch. It's on everywhere.
Oh, I was gonna get on the Switch. I don't think it is everywhere. I don't think it was on PC.
Oh, it might not be on PC. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Let me check that out here.
But yeah, that developer doesn't. Their games do eventually go on
That's
sale, just
vanilla,
not a ton.
right?
But yeah, Vanillaware.
It's cheapest on the Switch right now. It looks like it's still gonna set you back like $39, but
Yeah,
you can get it on the PlayStation for 48. It looks like
it's tough for me to recommend at a price knowing that I don't think you're necessarily going to love it.
yeah.
But I don't think it's one that you can really just watch and appreciate somebody else playing it. So it's tough. It's probably one you'll just end up not playing, and that's fine. But it is a pretty big game for me this year.
Do you think I should watch anything on it, or do you think playing it's really where it's at?
I think the answer is you can probably just end up skipping it.
Okay.
If this was a case where we had multiple, if we had 3 people on this podcast, and I needed to get some people to get some stuff for categories and get somebody in my corner, I'd probably push it a little harder. But knowing that we're probably going to have to change our format a little bit with just 2 people. Yeah. I'm not so laser focused on getting somebody else to experience this.
I will tell you right now, I think I would end up just wanting to play more Metaphor while playing it.
Almost assuredly, and yeah, Metaphor is probably going to be like the overall better game. But I had a really good time with Unicorn Overlord, and I can't wait to talk more about it when Game of the Year time. Cool. Let me run through a couple other ones here real quick.
Do it.
Summer House, you've played a lot of that game. It totally looks like my jam. We have a quick look of that up.
I like Tiny Gateway better though. Maybe.
Yeah, I know you do, but I think I would appreciate Summer House more just based on the setting, like that Japanese style more than forest forts. So yeah, I'm pretty jazzed to play Summer House. It's just making time for it, and also like coming to the PC to play video games, which I don't do a ton. So it is a bit of different for me to come and do that when I would rather just play it on a TV or on a Switch or something like that. But that game is something that you probably really only can play on a PC. You really need the mouse control
Yeah,
for
that.
building your towns and stuff.
Yep, agreed. Agreed.
Um, and then another one. This is the last game I've got that is already out.
Mhm.
Everything else on my list is stuff that comes out later. And I don't feel super strongly about this, but I just really fell in love with the trailers for Penny's Big Breakaway, which is
That's like the
I
Sonic one, right?
so it's by the same team that worked on Sonic Mania and
Yeah.
then weren't able to make a Sonic Mania 2, so they said, "All right, we'll try making our own game." And I've heard some kind of mixed things. I've heard, maybe that it doesn't control as perfectly as you want it to, but I think it just has a lot of heart to it, and I could totally see myself playing that and really enjoying a lot of its stylings. That might be one I could watch other people play, but I think I'd like to see more about that game.
Yeah.
It's not super strong. I feel like if we got to the end of the year and I haven't played it, not a big deal. But I also feel like it's something that I could load up on a weekend and just blow through enough of it to like really know what I want to say about it for game of the year and call it done. I don't think that's when I really need to finish to know how I feel. So I kind of just want to get a taste.
Also, I think let's just do this really quick. For you and I both, we know we've made it very well known. We are going to finish, both of us, before game of the year, Zelda, Astrobot, and Neva. Like those are like that's
Non-negotiables. Yeah.
non-negotiables. Like that's happening. So I'm not going to bring those up outside of what I just mentioned there. There are a handful here that I have that I'd like to touch base on that are out that I've played or that
Sure.
I've purchased. I've got a lot of time into Pacific Drive, but I feel compelled to know where that goes because it's just so weird the further you get into it. And I really liked that game. It had a pretty big impact on me earlier in the year. I I think a lot of cool things are there for Dungeons of Hinterberg, but I don't think it hit me as hard as I wanted it to. That was like my
Mm,
most anticipated game this year.
yeah.
And playing it, it's cool and I enjoy it, but it just feels close enough to being special and also far enough away from it that I don't know if I'll go back. And I think I got my fill for where it's at. And depending on how things shape out for the rest of the year, it'll probably be on a list for that matter. Um, but one that I keep hearing more and more good things about from people who have completed it, but I think it kind of came and went, is a game called Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. And this
Okay.
is a really, really cool narrative driven action. Like, I don't think it's an RPG, maybe a little bit of an RPG, but
Say the name again.
Banishers colon Ghost of New Eden. You play as a couple where one and you are basically going in dealing with ghost. In the midst of doing this, your partner dies and they become a ghost that you can leverage in combat. um but there's some really cool kind of like story beats, detective beats, where you have like strong choices matter, where you can essentially banish spirits because they're improperly haunting folks or places, or you can help guide them to the afterlife, and you have a choice on how that plays out based off of like, hey, this actually, like, I've done the work, I've gone through, I've done the detective work, I've gotten all the clues, I've put together a case. You actually were a piece of shit and you killed this person, and in the process of doing so you ended up falling off the cliff and dying, and because of that you're a ghost, you fucking suck, you're banished. But then there's other ones where it's like you have to make a decision, because as you banish ghosts away, you're taking away potential power to bring your wife back to life, because she can absorb these spirits if you choose to usher them in peacefully, or I think that's how it worked. Regardless of that, you can choose to keep them in a ghost state, which is probably right, or you can selfishly bring them back to life. And it reminded me a lot of just some of the choices from like old BioWare games. Um, I didn't get very far into it, and I feel really bad about that because I think this one has a great narrative story to it that I just didn't tap into. So I'm compelled to maybe watch some more on Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, but I will be the only person this year talking about it, if at all. So
Yeah.
all right, why don't we hear about some of those games you're excited about coming out?
Well, you actually, before we do that, you mentioned games you had put some time into and hadn't finished,
Yeah.
and I can do a couple of those now that you mentioned that. So, Balatro got some DLC that I have not played, like some of that new content, and I
You
could
never
always
got
be
that
up to
on
play some
mobile,
more
right?
Balatro. No. I think Switch is fine enough for me. I'm sure it plays great on mobile. I'm sure it'd be very dangerous on mobile, but I would like to give that new content a try and just play more Balatro. That game's real fun.
I think we'll play that on a Monday before Game of the Year, probably.
Okay. Um, Aiden Chronicle, 100 Heroes.
Oh yeah, you seem pretty into that.
I was and I wasn't. I was into it before it came out, and then I'm playing it on the Switch, where I mentioned how the performance was really poor. I haven't gone back. Maybe it's gotten some patches. Maybe it plays a whole lot better. I'm just kind of not interested. It really zapped a lot of my excitement for what was there. I feel like I would almost probably be better served waiting for the Suikoden 1 and 2 uh, collection to come out and just
Yeah.
playing Suikoden 1, which I've never played.
Yeah.
2, fantastic game, but I've never played the first game, and I bet that would probably be more up my alley than kind of trying to recapture things with Aiden Chronicle. But so unfortunately, I probably am just going to leave it where it is, despite being really excited for it and kickstarting it and doing all that other stuff. It just
Look,
didn't
man,
really
best
didn't
laid
really hit me.
plans, right?
And then the last one that I've got here is Oros, Ouros.
That's
We
the like illustrator one, right?
Yeah, so we talked about this on the podcast a handful of weeks ago, but this is a game that I've been playing on my iPad. That is, you get the different points, and you have to move the line around to be able to hit the different. It's a little tough to explain
Yeah.
because it is such a visual game, but it's really neat. I've kind of pecked at it over the course of months at this point. I'm on the final batch of levels, so I'm pretty close to just finishing it, and I'll definitely finish it before the end of the year. But it's been really cool. I've enjoyed a lot of the new mechanics they've added in with each new set of levels, and so that one's just been a lot of fun to poke at every once in a while, and I'll keep doing that. But
Hell
that's a
yeah.
good one.
Before we get into your November, there's I Am Your Beast, which I've mentioned. I want to put a little bit more time into that. There's there's 2 games I picked up. One called Caravan Sandwich. I'm sure you've
Okay.
seen
I don't know. I'll look it up.
This has a striking art style to it. It reminds me a little bit of Sable, not necessarily an art style, but maybe like an exploration.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then the other one that I'm interested in spending some time with is a game called Dice Mancer, and I picked that one up also. I haven't played it yet, but I think this one looks really cool. So I'm gonna probably check those 2 out at some time this year. But the last thing I'll say here for November before passing it to you, Monument Valley 3 comes out next month, Chase. And
Jesus. Well, that's Apple Arcade only, right?
no, worse.
Oh, Netflix. That's right, Netflix only. Yeah. No, but I can skip that.
Well, I don't know how that works though, because there have been other games that are just like I think that Netflix published this game, and it certainly is available on mobile, which is where you've played the other games. But they
Yeah.
did port last year, I think, or the year before. They brought everything over to Steam, and they made like cool widescreen support for it and really enhanced it that way. I don't know if there's plans for Monument Valley 3 to simultaneously launch on other platforms, or because there's again other games have come out exclusive to Netflix that have been on like Steam and other things at the time of launch, but I don't know if that's going to be the case here or not.
Yeah, I mean everything I'm seeing here just says exclusive to Netflix membership required. And if that's the case, then I definitely will not be playing it until it comes to something else. But
And what's weird though is I saw something say it came out next month, but now I'm seeing it say December 10th, so I don't quite know, but it is this year. and we'll see what happens there. But yeah,
Even better, take your time.
if it's not going to be available for you to check out, that's a bummer, because I know you and I really bonded over
Yeah,
these games, man.
I still use some Monument Valley 2. I think I use Monument Valley 2 wallpapers on my iPad,
It's so
and
good.
I like looking at those all the time.
I love that totem design.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's great. So yeah, it'll suck if I have to miss out on it, but I'm not getting a Netflix subscription, especially
Yep.
not to play one video game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can run down a few things. I don't want to kind of spoil. Like, we're about to do this next episode, so I don't want to just run down a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff from November that I'm planning on playing. But I will mention one that's coming out in December,
Okay.
and it's a game I've kind of tried to play before, and I've watched you play before, and I know I will like this game. I just didn't want to play it on the platform that it was on, but now it's finally coming to Switch. It's Fantasian. Fantasian,
I
specifically Neo
know.
Dimension. Really, really glad that is finally getting that Switch port. We were talking about the Netflix membership being required. This was an Apple Arcade exclusive, and I tried.
Yeah, you
I
put
did
some time
my
in that way, right?
I did, yeah. I did my trial of Apple Arcade. I played a lot of Mini Motorways, which, goddamn, I love that game. And now I have in ways that I don't need Apple Arcade for.
You think we'll get another one
And
of those?
maybe someday,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see it. They're kind of out of. I mean, I guess you could do boats or
Yeah.
planes.
Both. I'd be cool with
Um,
both of those.
Yeah, I mean, it was a while ago, but there was definitely like the plane. Oh man, I played that on my phone a lot. It was like you could move the planes, or like
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
what was
about.
that called? Like, you could show their flight paths, and maybe that's what it was. It called Flight Path?
I don't remember. There was one where you had to work as like air traffic control for them. It was a mobile game.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? What the hell was that?
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Flight Control. That's the game.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, Flight Control. Man, what a hell of a game. I'm sure that's out on places that I could play now if I wanted to go
Oh
back to
yeah,
that.
I think so.
But yeah, so I did play a little bit of Fantasian back when I had that membership, and then
Very cool game.
when the trial fell through, I wasn't going to re up, and just felt bad. I would love to play that game. I love its real backgrounds, the real photographic backgrounds that they've
Great
got.
soundtrack too.
Soundtrack. That's I think Uematsu said that's his last soundtrack.
Yep.
So that's, man. Yeah, I I know I'll love it. I loved the bit that I played. I just want to play it with an actual controller and not touch controls, and so very excited
I ended up
for
playing that with a
one.
controller, most of it on Apple Arcade, and it worked really well with a controller.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yep.
I found the touch controls to be not nearly as fun, like not
Yep.
very precise,
Yep.
and a lot of like, you move it, and then you pull your finger up, and it finds a way to like move it a little bit more, so it kind of fucks you, and it's like,
Yep.
damn, that's
Well, because you would, if you had the ricochet, where you would hit multiple targets, having it slightly off would suck. Like that was a
yeah,
problem.
absolutely. It was not great, but and
Bummer.
I'm sure it worked for enough people that the game was good. But if having the precision of that controller, I think is going to be really good for a game like that.
Absolutely, man. Um, I've got a couple here that like I know are supposedly November, and again, I know we'll talk more about it next week actually, but the Rise of the Golden Idol I'm very curious about. I think this will be cool. I never went to the DLC. Well, maybe I went to a little bit of it for the last game, but this one looks like a little bit of a different art style also, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. Um, Path of Exile 2 hits early access next month. I don't have a ton of experience with Path of Exile, but there's a lot of buzz on this one, and this started to get a lot of attention when Diablo 4 kind of came in
Sure.
hot. And now that Diablo 4 is in a good state, I don't know if I need Path of Exile 2, because I'm having fun
I
with
mean, yeah,
Diablo.
certainly not if you're already still playing Diablo 4 by the time it comes out and playing
Yeah.
that new content for 4.
Yeah.
But, if you finish 4 and you're like, man, I still need more of that, then Path of Exile is probably what you're looking
The only 4 I'm finishing is Metaphor. You hear me?
for.
That's it.
Sure.
And then there's a couple here that I think that you would probably like to talk about, so I'll let you handle those two in November. But
Yeah, I mean the last one I really want to talk about right now is just Metal Slug Tactics.
yeah,
Like we as a podcast, even when we had 3 members, were all about that game when it
we've
got
played it.
shown. We've played it on a
Yeah.
Next Fest. We've seen some stuff about that. It seems like it's right up our alley. It seems like it's everything we wanted it to be, and we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting for it to come out. It's so long without a date, and then it had a date, and it got moved, and it got moved again. It's slated for the 5th. Will hopefully it won't slip anymore. And man, cannot wait to play some Metal
That
Slug
is
Tactics.
everything, right? I'm pretty sure. PC, PS4, 5, all the Xboxes, and Switch. So yeah, pretty much everything.
Everything that matters.
Yep. On the 5th, cool. Yeah, that demo was really fun. I enjoyed.
Can't play it on your Ouya. Sorry.
Oh damn. Ooh yeah. No, I think that's really cool. I know that they re-released their mobile game on other platforms, and I think that they rebranded and re-released it on mobile. And you and I checked it out, and I was like, this ain't it. I just want more tactics.
Yeah.
Was it like Metal Slug Awakening is what that game was called, I think, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. A battle, something or other. Wasn't good.
I mean, honestly, man, like if I'm looking at this, the big things, I don't know how much time I have left on Zelda. I am at the boss of the second dragon, so to speak, of that game. Goddess.
Okay.
The goddess of those.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So I think I'm slightly ahead of you, and I also think I went a slightly different path.
I went Goron, and I'm up in the winter area right now, the snowy area of the mountain, and then I'll go down from there.
So, yeah, I went southeast first, and then I just finished Goron, so I'm doing the mountain stuff now, the snow stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm wrapping the snow stuff up, and then I'll go down southeast and get that wrapped up. But I don't know how much is after that. I don't think there'll be a lot after that.
I would have to, if I'm guessing, and I'm probably wrong. If I'm guessing, there would be one final temple dungeon thing that shows up, and that's where you would fight the big boss at that point.
Yep.
We'll see. I mean, hey, they could do a thing where they go, no, actually, there's a whole extra world, but I don't think they will, based on the times I've hear people say that they've finished that game in.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't want that. I think the game, if it's the length that I think it is a really perfect length.
Yeah.
I'm excited to keep playing more of that game. I love it. I just love it.
Same. And Astrobot, I've mentioned this. I'm in the last world, but I have been. I'm going to platinum this game, because I think it's easy to do, and I'm gonna push through it. We'll see how that holds up when I get into a bit of a crunch here, but and then again, just a ton.
And I've got a lot more of that game than you to play. But
are you going to try and wrap that one up before Metaphor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before Metaphor, still probably, yeah.
Okay.
I think what's going to happen is once I finish Zelda, I'm going to put in 1 or 2 more big sessions on Astrobot, and if I'm close after that, probably just finish it up. And if I'm not close, maybe just jump into Metaphor at that point.
I think tonight I'm going to commit to playing Astrobot. I haven't played it for a bit. I want to pick that up, put some time in with it. I'm going to be out of town this weekend. I'll still have some evening availability, but I'm going to really try and before I commit to too much in November, I want to at least get Astrobot and Zelda buttoned up. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And then I'll see what the rest of the year brings. There could be some last minute surprises with, Game Awards stuff and other places, but
absolutely, yeah. There's certainly always that possibility of and it dropped today, and we'll go, oh god, just add another thing to the list.
It is strange to me that you still haven't fired up Baldur's Gate. Not to put any more pressure on you for
I know,
stuff.
I know. So that actually was going to be this last section I wanted to talk about of games that did not come out in 2024, but I
Yeah.
still want to play them this year. And one of them is Baldur's Gate 3. I think at this point it's just not happening. It's such a huge game, and knowing
That
that
they're still adding a lot to.
sure, but like knowing that it's a big game and I want to play a big game like Metaphor at this point, I think it is just something that I will. And also knowing that it doesn't help me at all for Game of the Year, I think it just gets kicked to 2025 at this point.
I mean, look, dude, you know how much I love Baldur's Gate. I think
Sure.
that you would appreciate and enjoy Metaphor more than that. I could be wrong though.
No, I think that's totally true. I think it is Metaphor is more my vibe and my style than
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate, even though I think I will also love Baldur's Gate.
Yep.
But I
Oh,
had two other games that I wanted to mention, non 2025 games. One is somehow a video game that I keep wanting to play, and it hit the wheel, and now I'm supposed to play it. And for whatever reason, it's taken me 2 months, and I still haven't touched it. And that's Heat Signature, which
yeah.
I cannot wait to play Heat Signature. And yet somehow I only am finding time to wait to play Heat Signature. But I'm going to definitely play that before the end of the year. I think we're probably just going to end up skipping the wheel again next month,
Yeah.
because I don't need to throw another game on this pile at this point. So I'll just play Heat Signature at some point this year and come back with my thoughts on that. But that's one I've been waiting for a long time. And then lastly is a game that was on my New Year's resolution list that I was going to beat this game sometime this year, and unfortunately we're coming down to the wire, and I'm already playing a game that is basically exactly like it, and that's A Link to the Past. It's like I told myself at the beginning of this year, this is the year you beat A Link to the Past. You've played it a ton as a kid and just never finished it, and you're gonna do it. And now I'm playing Echoes of Wisdom, and I'm like, I am doing it. I'm
It's the
just playing
same
this
map.
game
It's
instead.
the same map.
It basically is,
No,
and so many of the mechanics.
It is. That is the same. Like, pull up the maps.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can lay. It's not like A Link Between Worlds where it is
No, yeah,
basically 1-to-1, but there is a lot of symmetry to
yeah.
the world that's going on with Echoes of Wisdom versus Link to the Past, and I'm having such a great time with Echoes of Wisdom, and the I wouldn't even call it a gimmick because I think it's so well done, but the mechanic stuff that you're doing with Zelda that is so much of a departure from Link's normal tool set, that I wonder if when I do go back to Link to the Past, which again hopefully will be this year, I put it on paper. God damn it, I was going to do it, but I am a little worried that I'll go back to it and go, why can't I put a billion beds out here to run over
I
this
know.
this area?
I forgot to mention earlier, but I do want to finish Black Myth Wukong as well. That's high up there for me.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna definitely try and put some time in there. I also think that some of these games that I would like to revisit.
Is Black Myth something you think I should watch? I don't think I'll play it at this point, but do you think it's the cutscenes and story stuff is interesting enough that I should just watch that game?
I think you might appreciate it more than I do, even just knowing how much
Probably.
you enjoy that, and knowing that like it ties into some other properties that have taken on that story with Journey to the West. I think at minimum that opening cinematic's fucking great.
I mean, I watched a boss fight that was rad as fuck.
Yeah, dude.
So if I just like watch somebody's like game movie where they play through it, maybe that's worth it for somebody like me. Again, I think at this point it's too much game that I don't really want to.
I don't know
sit
if
down and play it
either. Like you might not like.
Yeah, because I mean, it's still, even no matter how light the Souls is, it's still Souls, and that's not really my bag.
There's a couple of these on here that I think I'll start bringing into our Monday streams, or I'll use these as like I'll go play these on Friday and just like do that. So we'll see. There's a lot to get done still, and I think the move really set me back in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Because just mentally and physically out of it. But this is good. I wanted to kind of like refresh some stuff, get you and I aligned on a few things. This gives me a bit more purpose on what I want to put my time into, and I'm in between things. And I think next week when we dive into a bit more deeply what November is bringing, we'll walk away with that with a pretty good plan on how we're going to fit stuff in. But this was good. I'm glad we did this.
Me too. It is nice to kind of like reset your brain and go, okay, it's on a list. I know I need to check these things off. Let's get to it.
So you've been putting a lot of time in with Magic. I don't care, but if you want me to encourage you. So I got you that gift, by the way, for your birthday. And when I walked in and I was explaining, like, I first asked I wanted to get you a comic, and they were out. I ended up finding for myself, I got the Jim Lee variant cover of that, so I'll show that to you.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
But I was like, hey, I got a friend. He's really into Magic. He has pretty much everything. I kind of want to get him a gift. He's like, well, are you wanting to get him a gift because he wants you to play Magic with him? I'm like, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, we've tried that one, buddy.
And then he's like, I told you this when we were together, but for the show, he's like, well, what about Bethesda? And I was like, yeah, I think that ship sailed too at this point for him.
Yeah, different ship, but also has sailed.
Yeah, and it was just really funny though, because I'm also enabling you with Magic, but I think Magic has kept you from some of these games. And
it certainly has. The amount of time I've spent building decks or watching other people play Magic online, or playing MTG Arena, or seeing people talk about deck tech stuff again, like on YouTube or something, has taken up so much of my time, and I love it. I just love the tinkering part of it, but you're right, it absolutely has sapped a lot of the time that would normally go to video games, and I feel bad about that, especially as a guy who's got a video game podcast. But it's, games are always there. I always still want to play some video games. It just has to share time.
I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just asking, do you want me to encourage you to sway away from Magic for the next few months?
I mean, you can try your best, bud, but it's not going to work. Like I know myself at this point. I've got 20 tabs open on my browser that are various YouTube videos about Magic that I want to watch. I am trying to find more time though. I'm trying to find more time to finish Zelda.
Don't do it for me.
I would say last Sunday was like a really great day where I just sat down and played Zelda from like 3 to 9 and just got a big chunk of it done and felt really good about it. And you're like, damn, this game's so good. And I'm not trying to, you don't platinum Nintendo games exactly, but I am trying. I'm just having so much fun playing Zelda that I am allowing myself to go, oh, what's over there? Maybe I'll just go do this side quest thing, instead of going, oh, I need to lock down and get through the main path, because I'm just loving trying things and going back to areas where I know, like, oh, I don't know how to get to that piece of heart, and now it's like, oh, well, I've got these things, maybe I can get that piece of heart. And
that's there's a thing in Metaphor where there's essentially like a gem, not like a workout gym, but like a jewel or a stone that in dungeons, it's like what kind of keeps enemies spawning, and it usually kind of blocks the path when you're trying to get through it. All that to be said, there's a situation where you can break it or keep it, and if you keep it, it just keeps you grinding your EXP and your and so the cool thing about that is you can just on the fly, like once you purchase an archetype for one of your characters, you just equip it in the menu, so you don't have to go back and change anything out, and it automatically will just move. What's really smart about this is it'll move your inventory, whatever your best items are that fit that archetype, it automatically equips on your character.
Oh, that's great.
It's awesome. So like as you switch over, if it's not equipped by other characters in your party and you just kind of have it on your person, it just automatically puts it on them, and then they're good to go, which is awesome. But I found myself like, I could bust this gem up and move forward in this, or just kind of keep it around and grind and level up these archetypes. And that's,
that sounds dangerous for somebody like me.
Yes, dude. It's bad news.
Oh man.
So anyway,
Can't wait.
That's yeah, it's so fucking good, dude. That's gonna be way up there for me, I think. Well, this week has been funky and weird. We've got, as we mentioned, we played the TCG Card Shop Simulator on Monday night. Watched that stream. It was a lot of fun. Tonight, on Tuesday, we recorded this backlog retrospective, and we talked through what we need to do next to be better. I have Friday night listed to play Diablo. I'm doing some projects at the old house with my dad that day. I got a backlog to get through. If I got friends to play this with on Friday night, I'll probably stream it. We'll see how it goes. I've mentioned prior that I've got to get better about sticking to that right now and just work through some shit. So that's coming, but keep an eye out. We'll let you know what's going on there. Chase, what do you got going on?
I've got a couple things. The first is my YouTube channel, Chasey K Plays, where I am starting a new series. It's called I'm Just a Bill, where I play through the Pokemon trading card game, the ROM hack, the Pokemon TCG Neo, I believe is what the ROM hack is called. It's got all the Gen 2 Pokemon in it. First episode goes out tomorrow on Wednesday. Really excited for that.
I'll have your art for you.
Okay. I've got a placeholder if you need more time. It's fine.
I can get it done.
Okay, sounds good. So excited for that series to start in earnest, because I just love those mechanics of those original cards, and but it's also a little bit new to me because I don't know these specific cards from the ROM hack, and it's neat. And then I've also got a podcast that I do with good friend of the show, Pierce Corshane. It's called Pilot Program. We watch the first episodes of every TV show ever made. We've been on hiatus for a while because Pierce's family just celebrated the birth of their second child. But Pierce, breaking news, right before we started recording this podcast, Pierce came back to me. He's like, "Hey, I think I'm about ready to come back." Fuck yeah, man, let's do it.
There you go. Awesome.
So I think we'll be recording our new episode of that in the next couple of weeks.
Very
so
cool.
Get excited for that, because I don't think we've announced exactly what show it is. I know exactly what show it is, but I'll let you know closer to the time. But that's going to be a real exciting one for me.
Awesome. Well, Chase, thanks for getting me lined up here on what I should be focusing my time and energy on, and we will be back live